SpaceX is going for an IPO at a valuation of around $1.75 trillion. To put that in perspective, that is almost equal to the entire GDP of Australia. At first, the number $1.75 trillion looks extreme when the company's current revenue is around $15 billion. That gap is not small. It is 100 times SpaceX's revenue. So the most important question is this $1.7 trillion valuation justified? Whether the number's justified or not, the retail investors look very excited about this IPO because, on prediction markets, they're betting millions on the output of this IPO. We will see this prediction market angle at the end of the video. To answer the justification, we need to understand two things. First, how did the 1.75 trillion number even get here? And second, what is actually inside this company that is supposed to justify it? Because once you understand both, you will see that SpaceX is not a straightforward IPO. But before we talk about SpaceX, you need to understand how a normal IPO usually works. When a private company wants to go public, it typically goes through a series of funding rounds. In each round, venture capital firms or institutional investors give the company fresh money in exchange for a percentage of ownership. The valuation is set by how much money comes in and what percentage of the company that money buys. So, if an investor gives a company $100 million for 10% ownership, the company is valued at $1 billion. The important thing here is that new money enters the company. The company uses that capital to grow, hire people, build products, and expand operations. The valuation goes up because the business is genuinely getting bigger and stronger. Investors taking risk early get rewarded as the company grows. And by the time the company reached IPO, a lot of investors had taken risks and invested money in that company. This is the normal way an IPO works. But SpaceX did not need additional money for its operations, so SpaceX has not followed this traditional IPO path. It used a different method called tender offers. In a tender offer, existing shareholders, such as employees or early investors, sell a portion of their shares to selected buyers. These buyers are usually large funds, or the company itself participates to buy back shares. The price is negotiated between a limited number of participants. Once a transaction happens at a higher price, that price becomes the reference point for the company's valuation. This tender offer method is common among high-profile private companies. It allows insiders or employees to sell their shares without going for an initial public offering. Also, it allows the company to strengthen its financials. Before June 2024, SpaceX was valued at $180 billion. In June 2024, SpaceX decided to go for liquidity rounds after every 6 months, which is also known as a tender offer. SpaceX mainly focused on buying back the shares from investors. In June 2024, SpaceX tender offered at $112 per share. After that, it was valued at $210 billion. In the December 2024 tender offer, SpaceX and investors bought back $1.25 billion worth of stocks at $185 per share. It pushed the valuation of SpaceX to $350 billion. In another tender offer in July 2025, SpaceX bought back $1 billion worth of stock at $212 per share. It moved the SpaceX valuation to $400 billion. Then in December 2025, in another tender offer, SpaceX and investors bought $2.56 billion worth of shares from insiders at $421 per share. It moved up the SpaceX valuation to $800 billion. And then in February 2026, SpaceX merged with xAI. At the time, SpaceX was valued at $800 billion and xAI was valued at $250 billion. After the merger, the valuation was $1.25 trillion. Both SpaceX and xAI are private companies. Neither has disclosed financials publicly. So when SpaceX's board says SpaceX is worth $1 trillion and xAI's board says xAI is worth $250 billion, these are valuations set by the same founder-controlled ecosystem. After the merger closed, markets repriced SpaceX again, and its estimated valuation climbed to $1.75 trillion. So now you understand how SpaceX reached a $1.75 trillion valuation. But that doesn't answer the real question. Does the business actually justify it? SpaceX is genuinely one of the most impressive businesses built in the last 20 years. But let's go through each part on which this valuation is dependent. Starlink, the engine of the entire valuation. If you strip away everything else, Starlink is the reason this valuation conversation is even possible. Without Starlink, SpaceX is a rocket company with government contracts. With Starlink, it becomes something much closer to a global utility. At the moment, Starlink is available in most of the world. It's not available in Russia and China, and for other countries it is pending approval from the government, so it will be available in those countries soon. By the end of 2025, Starlink had 9.2 million active subscribers. That number doubled in just 15 months. Revenue from Starlink alone was estimated at $10.6 billion in 2025. The profit margins on that revenue are around 54%. At the moment, Starlink is more expensive than normal fiber internet and needs upfront investment. It is primarily marketed as providing internet in remote areas, but usually people living in remote areas do not have a higher income to pay a premium price for expensive internet. How many people adopt Starlink and, in city areas, how many people switch to Starlink from fiber connections is a very important metric to keep an eye on. But if you just look at Starlink as an internet provider, then the valuation of $1.7 trillion does not make sense, as its cost is higher. But in September 2025, SpaceX made a $17 billion deal with EchoStar. EchoStar is basically a telecom plus satellite infrastructure company. EchoStar owns wireless spectrum, which is the actual airwaves that mobile networks use to transmit signals. Without spectrum, you cannot run a mobile network. By acquiring this spectrum, SpaceX is not just expanding Starlink, it is buying the infrastructure required to connect regular smartphones directly to satellites. This is what makes Starlink Mobile possible. No special hardware, no satellite dish on your roof, your existing phone connects directly to a Starlink satellite, and that satellite operates on licensed spectrum, just like a traditional telecom network. That means SpaceX is no longer competing with satellite internet providers, it is competing with every mobile carrier on the planet, such as Verizon and T-Mobile. Every single one of them. In India, telecom companies like Jio initially opposed SpaceX's spectrum deal with the government, but then later partnered with SpaceX to provide satellite internet. Jio is the biggest telecom network in India and has a customer base of 500 million people. Jio signed a distribution agreement with SpaceX to sell Starlink equipment through its retail outlets and online stores across India, and will also handle customer installation and support. So basically, Starlink will get access to Jio's entire distribution network once it is approved in India. Now imagine the same partnership model playing out in every major country, where SpaceX ties up with a dominant local telecom operator and piggybacks on their existing customer base and retail infrastructure. This is the real scale of what Starlink Mobile is trying to build. SpaceX does not need to build its own stores, its own support teams, or its own brand recognition in each country. It just needs the right local partner. Over time, this will definitely increase the customer base of Starlink. But until SpaceX files public financials after the IPO, every single revenue number you're reading about Starlink is an estimate. Nobody outside the company has independently verified the actual subscriber numbers. And Starlink Mobile still faces real regulatory approvals in dozens of countries. So the main valuation of the company is dependent on what its plans are in the future and how it fulfills them. Government and defense contracts. SpaceX's defense business is the most stable part of its revenue. SpaceX has accumulated approximately $22 billion in cumulative federal contracts from NASA, the Department of Defense, the Space Force, and the National Reconnaissance Office. That makes it one of the largest non-traditional defense contractors in American history. These are not speculative future contracts and signed agreements with the United States government. Within this, there is Starship. Starship is a classified military satellite network. The National Reconnaissance Office gave SpaceX a $1.8 billion contract to build hundreds of satellites specifically for military use, completely separate from the consumer Starlink product. Then there's the Golden Dome program, the Pentagon's missile tracking constellation involving up to 600 satellites, which is expected to be another SpaceX contract worth approximately $2 billion. Government and defense revenue is the base of this business. It does not disappear when consumer sentiment shifts. It does not slow down when the economy slows down. Defense spending in America does not follow a normal business cycle. For a company asking you to pay 100 times revenue, having a $22 billion contract base underneath everything else is a meaningful cushion. But the government contracts can be canceled, renegotiated, or redirected depending on political priorities. They are not permanent annuities, and the Starship revenue is largely classified. meaning after the IPO, retail investors will be asked to trust a portion of the revenue they cannot independently verify. Launch market monopoly. SpaceX holds approximately 82% of the global commerce launch market. In 2025, it executed more orbital launches than every other launch provider in the world combined. This is a near monopoly that was built by doing something the entire aerospace industry said was impossible: landing and reusing orbital rockets. The Falcon 9's reusability changed the economics of the entire industry. Before SpaceX, a rocket launch cost anywhere from $150 million to $400 million, depending on the provider. SpaceX drove that cost down dramatically, and because they already operate at that cost structure while competitors are still spending billions trying to reach it, they can keep undercutting everyone on price while still making money. That is a durable competitive advantage. The one genuine long-term threat here is China. China's state-backed launch providers are actively developing reusable rocket capability with essentially unlimited government subsidy behind them. They are not competing on economics alone. They're competing on national strategic priority, which means they will absorb losses that no private company ever could. Starship, the multiplier that does not exist yet. To understand why Starship matters so much to this valuation, you first need to understand what Falcon 9 already achieved and why Starship makes it look small. Before SpaceX, launching 1 kilogram of cargo into orbit cost around $54,500 during the space shuttle era. When Falcon 9 arrived as a disposable rocket, it brought that down to $2,720 per kilogram, a 20 times reduction on its own. Then SpaceX figured out how to land and reuse the booster, which is the bottom half of the rocket, and the cost dropped further. But here's the thing, Falcon 9 still throws away its upper stage every single launch. That upper stage costs over $10 million, and it burns up in the atmosphere every single time. The Falcon 9 is partially reusable. Starship is designed to be fully reusable. Both stages come back. The booster returns and gets caught mid-air by mechanical arms on the launch tower, gets inspected, is refueled, and flies again, potentially within hours. No transportation, no refurbishment facility, no weeks of downtime. Just fuel and personnel time. The result is that despite carrying almost 10 times more payload than Falcon 9, Starship should eventually cost less per launch than Falcon 9 does today. Falcon 9 costs around $1,000 per kilogram to orbit. Starship projections put that number at $100 to $200 per kilogram at full operational scale. That is a massive reduction from where Falcon 9 already sits today. And every time that number drops, every single business SpaceX runs, Starlink deployment, defense satellites, and commercial launches get cheaper to operate simultaneously. Starship is not just a bigger rocket, it is a cost reduction engine running underneath the entire $1.7 trillion valuation. The problem is that Starship is still in testing. The entire cost reduction thesis depends on a rocket that has not yet completed a full commercial mission. Aerospace delays are not the exception, they are the rule. Every year Starship takes longer than expected is another year that the financial model built around it needs to be revised. The 2040 projection is what you're actually paying for. It is projected that SpaceX could generate $150 billion in revenue by 2040. Those future projections are the numbers that mathematically justify $1.7 trillion today. You're not buying $15 billion in current revenue at an insane multiple, you are supposedly buying the discounted present value of what this company looks like in 15 years. If you believe Starlink dominates global satellite broadband, Starship commercializes on schedule, the AI data center business scales, and defense contracts keep compounding, then $1.7 trillion is not crazy. The problem is that every single assumption in that 2040 model has to go right simultaneously. But 15 years is a very long time. 15 years ago, nobody was having a serious conversation about satellite internet as a mass-market product. And here we are today discussing whether to get it as a secondary option. The Elon factor is the most complicated variable of the valuation. No analysis of this valuation is complete without talking about Elon Musk. He is simultaneously the strongest argument for this stock and the most significant risk attached to it. And you cannot separate the two. Musk has delivered things the entire industry said were impossible. Reusable rockets, mass-market electric vehicles at scale. The man has a track record that genuinely justifies a premium that no other founder alive can claim. Investors who backed Tesla early purely because they believed in Musk made extraordinary returns. The same logic is being applied here. But here's the other side. Beyond running his companies, his political activities through Doge cost Tesla an estimated $15 billion in brand value in 2025. SpaceX is not a consumer brand in the same way Tesla is. Starlink subscribers are not going to cancel their internet because of a tweet. But it demonstrates what unchecked political exposure can do to the perceived value of a Musk company. But it is a proven fact that without Elon Musk, these companies wouldn't have reached the level they are today. On prediction market platforms like Polymarket, where people put real money behind what they think will happen, these are actual financial bets where you lose real money if you are wrong. And right now, there are over 133 active SpaceX prediction markets on Polymarket with millions of dollars in total trading volume. People are betting on when the IPO happens, what valuation it closes at on day one, which investment bank will run the deal, and even what ticker symbol Musk will choose. The ticker prediction market alone has a $3 million bet on it, which tells you that there is a high demand for this stock even before it is filed for an IPO. SpaceX will most likely be a part of an index, and even exchanges are changing rules to list SpaceX on their exchange. Check out this video to learn more about how exchanges are changing rules to get SpaceX listed with them.